Did jiu-jitsu somehow or potentially save Tua Tagovailoa's career? I think that's one of the more interesting and maybe absurd questions that we have in the NFL this year. We haven't seen Tua play a full season and or stay healthy in 5 or 6 years going back to college. This was the number one pass offense in the NFL when he played last year. It was the number one yards per play offense in the NFL. Is he going to be able to stay healthy because of the jiu-jitsu? I will be fascinated to pay attention to that.
So yesterday I did a video on ESPN's top 10 quarterbacks of 2023. And I showed you all top 10 quarterbacks, and people completely freaked out because Tua wasn't there. I've had arguments on Twitter. I've gone back and forth with people because they keep talking about his stats earlier in the year. This list was compiled by NFL executives, NFL players, NFL coaches, and NFL scouts. Obviously, they don't put that much credence into the stats that you guys are holding dear. But however, there is some good news that somebody asked me to go ahead and talk about, is although Tua did not make the top 10 list, he did, however, make an honorable mention list. So I failed to talk about the honorable mentions, so let me just include those right now so that the steak knives could be given out.
Anybody want to see second prize? Second prize, a set of steak knives.
So this was the top 10 list that I talked about yesterday. I'm going to dial it down and just jump right into the honorable mention list. So here we are at the honorable mention section of the list. So I'm going to go through that really quick until we get down to where Tua is. Honorable mention, Deshaun Watson. Watson has played 6 games over the last 2 seasons, serving an 11-game suspension, yada, yada, yada. He's an honorable mention. They think he's going to bounce back this year. Next up, one of the honorable mentions on this list was Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is just your basic plain Jane, middle-of-the-road quarterback. I think Kirk Cousins will always be an honorable mention. He's not going to lose you a lot of games, but he's not going to win the big one either. Jared Goff, who I think can probably rebound. His entire career is on an upward trend. This could be a year that Jared Goff with the Detroit Lions in the draft that the Lions had really takes a step up in his game. Who's up next? Derek Carr. Derek Carr from New Orleans Saints getting a fresh start out of Las Vegas. He may now make the list and move up as well. And here we are at Tua. Now I'm going to read you this section. I hope it's big enough where you guys can see it as well. And I'm not going to add any emphasis whatsoever. I'm not going to draw any undue attention to any of the words in this honorable mention piece that they put on ESPN about Tua. I want you to listen and read for yourself and tell me what you think they are saying about Tua Tagovailoa. So let's take a look at this. Tua showed massive potential in Coach Mike McDaniel's offense. He was dangerous whenever he looked to pass, averaging a league-high 8.9 yards per attempt. And out of the pocket, he also led the NFL in QBR at 87.9. This quote here is from an NFL coordinator. I thought the first 6 or 7 weeks of the season last year, he could have been the MVP. I was impressed with his growth. Head injuries are complicated, however, but I like the direction he's headed. Tua's durability is a concern among voters after spending multiple stints in the concussion protocol. Even aside from that, many don't see him as a top 10 passer. He's got very good timing, touch, anticipation, and accuracy, along with good pocket feel. He doesn't have the mobility and power arm strength, so there are some limitations. An AFC executive said that. He's a true point guard type who needs to get it out quickly and distribute it to his playmakers, which he's done a good job of. So what do you think about those statements about Tua? Point guard type of player, not mobile, doesn't have a power arm, has good touch and timing and good anticipation and accuracy, but there's concerns about his health, obviously, because of the concussions. And then I saw this video with Dan Orlovsky, and I want you to take a listen to what he says here.
Did jiu-jitsu somehow or potentially save Tua Tagovailoa's career? I think that's one of the more interesting and maybe absurd questions that we have in the NFL this year. We haven't seen Tua play a full season and or stay healthy in 5 or 6 years going back to college. This was the number one pass offense in the NFL when he played last year. It was the number one yards per play offense in the NFL. Is he going to be able to stay healthy because of the jiu-jitsu? I will be fascinated to pay attention to that.
So that's where they've got Tua. He's in the honorable mention category. And like Dan Orlovsky said at the beginning of this video, we have to wait and see. Who knows if the jiu-jitsu is going to work? It's been 5 or 6 years. 5 or 6 years since Tua has played a full season. That's what he's got going against him. I didn't make up the list. I just reported it to you. NFL executives, coaches, players, scouts just don't feel that Tua is a top 10 talent. They don't feel he's a top 10 passer. He's accurate. He's got great touch. He's got great anticipation. And he runs basically, he's the point guard for the Miami Dolphins. What do you guys think about that? Is that a positive? Is that a negative? And I just wanted to make sure I showed you why they awarded Tua the set of steak knives instead of the top 10 prize. Let me know what you guys think. Fins up.
Is anybody catching on to this Barry guy?